Hello and welcome to Joy News at 8. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, President John Dramani Mahama delivers policy statement promising to engage all opposition leaders to discuss matters of national interest. Also tonight, controversial CI-73 and CI-77 withdrawn and verbally relayed in Parliament, but minority is not enthused. Government pharmacies in all polyclinics, districts and regional hospitals across the country are under lock and key while patients bear the brunt of the strike action. And business, government says the current nationwide load shedding exercise should be over by next month. In showbiz, A's High Life artist Rex Omar endorses President Mahama. We also have some international news for you. Red Cross Chief Peter Mora is in Syria on a messy mission seeking protection for civilians as spate of bombings and clashes brings fresh bloodshed to the capital and second city, Aleppo. In sports, Black Stars hold first training session ahead of qualifier against Malawi. To the details now. My name is Evans Mensah. Now, President John Dramani Mahama says he will engage all opposition leaders to discuss matters of national interest. He also admonished public servants to deliver services that justify the over 6 billion cedis paid to them as salaries. The president was delivering his policy statement to a section of the public at the Accra International Conference Center.
We're determined to break the cycle of overspending, especially in election years. Strict instructions have already gone out to all sectors against any unbudgeted expenditure. No new projects are allowed to be undertaken without strict adherence to the discipline of the national budget. Each sector minister has to give an account of compliance with this directive. I'm convening a cabinet meeting next week to receive briefings from each sector on this directive. On the basis of these briefings, the Ministry of Finance will also brief Cabinet on the outlook for government expenditure over the remainder of this year.
President Mahama's policy statement was highly anticipated, but many did not predict that he would announce delays in public servant salaries, and this is meant to check ghost names on public payroll. The president said the single spine salary structure will be fully completed by the end of this year.
I ask our public servants to appreciate that this is a major reform initiative and that a few glitches might have arisen for which we need the patient understanding of all. All the concerns that pockets of the public service have expressed regarding the exercise will be duly addressed in the next few months. Every time we're negotiating migration onto single spine, there are threats of strike action. However, when the wishes are granted and the single spine is effected and remuneration goes up, public servants revert to the bad old ways. The service attitude of the police has improved, but we all know that drivers are still paying bribes on the roads, and they in turn behave with impunity, knowing that any arrest will go nowhere. My point is, increased pay is supposed to come with increased and better productivity.
He talked about a National Development Planning Commission to provide manufacturing opportunities for Ghanaian industries and, most importantly, an end to bureaucracy in public offices, with the establishment of a client service system to receive complaints and a trade enforcement unit to rigorously investigate undue advantage of foreign investors over domestic ones. These, among others, are to be done within 2 weeks, as directed by the president. On infrastructure, the president says though 4 months is too short for any visible increase, he will ensure that Ghana has value for money.
On the broader infrastructure front, The focus over the next 4 months will be to identify priority projects amongst all ongoing projects and bring the weight of the presidency to bear on managing an agreed plan to guarantee that percentage completion is visibly increased over the period. To guarantee that percentage completion is visibly increased over the next 4 months. From the payment of government monies to persons and institutions who do not deserve them, to the misuse of government assets by officials of states. While legitimate debts of the state must be paid, it would appear that in some instances payments have been made in circumstances that were all the facts known, those payments should not have happened. I've also decided to appoint a sole commissioner to thoroughly examine the judgment, debts, and negotiated settlements conundrum and recommend for immediate implementation, legislative and systems remediation.
In the recent wake of load shedding, he said dialogue in the sub-region will be intensified as the country doubles its electricity generation to make up for the shortfalls in the sector.
I further instructed the economic management team to ensure prudent utilization and in a transparent manner of the additional resources from our oil revenues.
On healthcare, the one-time premium policy and the capitation program will be hastened as additional sources of funding for the NHIS is sought. On education, he said resources will be channeled towards improving fallen standards, quality of trained teachers and subsidies to senior high schools. On rural water supply, he urged the ministry to engage NGOs and stakeholders to provide lasting solutions. A national sanitation program will also be rolled out by next week to tackle the poor sanitation conditions in the country. He has also directed the inclusion of all opposition leaders in national programs. He noted his policy agenda may not cover all sectors, but the timelines given on all of them will be rigorously monitored to ensure delivery.
Meanwhile, some political party representatives present were impressed with the president's initiative of an all-inclusive government, while others said some part of his policy fell short of the expectations. Anti-corruption advocate Vitus Azim thinks 4 months is too short to achieve some of the policies.
What struck me was his desire to change the white paper, which was signed earlier on by the former president, in respect of the this new phenomenon of either electing, MCAs or involving other people by opening up, so that we do away with this winner takes all. I think this is quite, fundamental, and we think it is a good way to go. We're waiting to hear to see how he's going to do it.
4 months is rather too short a time for most of these things that he has said to be implemented. Some of them are just follow-ups on what they are already doing, or what they would do if, for example, they win power in December. Before I came here, I prepared a question on judgment debts, but it was addressed in a way that I could no longer ask my question. So he addressed corruption in a way, but of course we are also always a bit hesitant when it comes to this, because pronouncements can be different from action. And he even gave timelines in the next 2 weeks, in the next couple of months. So I think that is that was very good, and then it's something that we can use to measure against him.
It is not the first time that political parties have met with a certain president. Political parties have met with President Kufuor. Political parties had the occasion to meet with President John Evans Atta Mills. And so if he wants to extend that meeting, we welcome that opportunity. His policy on agriculture fell short because our agriculture is collapsing. Our poultry industry is collapsing. Our cotton industry has collapsed on account of heavy importation into this country. And one expected him to touch on import as one of the issues that is crippling our domestic industries, which he did not talk about.
The bureaucracy, as the Excellency talked about, is just too much. It doesn't help us to achieve our better Ghana the way we want to achieve it. So I think this is a wake-up for the public servants to wake up. They should wake up and come to work early. When you give them something to do, when you give them directives, they should respond timeously, because the delays are costing us a lot in government.
Well, the MPP has reacted to the president's policy statement earlier today with a statement titled President John Mahama's program Too Little, Too Late. The MPP welcomes the president's communication of his resolve to chart some new courses in the delivery of good governance over the next 4 months. We particularly welcome his intention to engage with other political leaders in a bid to promote better multi-partisan approach to national affairs. We note the numerous directives, instructions, orders to ministers of state, including scheduling of cabinet meetings. He outlines a tall list of must-dos, directives and reviews that he will ask his government to pursue without any real policy prescription. We will, however, be happier to be told the results of presidential ministerial actions taking that benefit the people of Ghana. The president believes the cedi's decline has been arrested. We note over the past 3.5 years that the cedi has lost 80% of its value, 20% in the first half of this year alone. The arrest of the decline, the president mentioned, is basically because there is, in effect, a ban on cedi dollar transactions at our banks. We'll bring you more on the story. Also, the Progressive People's Party, in a related development, has also condemned the president's policy statement, describing it as diversionary and disappointing. The PPP, in a statement, welcomed the president's call to reduce the concept of the winner-takes-all mentality and encourage the participation of other political party representatives in national programs and reduce the politicization of national events by the party and government. The PPP is, however, disappointed that the president did not address the issue of the abuse of incumbency, the unfair coverage by state-owned media of political parties' activities, the lack of inclusiveness in the award of contracts which present a barrier to unity. The PPP reminded government that the Constitution's provision that makes basic education free and compulsory is possible and cannot be continuously violated. It is an act of injustice to exclude any child from getting basic education. The PPP's education policy is free, compulsory, and continuous. Education for them is from kindergarten to senior high school, and they say it's possible. The only thing that is required to achieve that, according to PPP, that objective is leadership and personal commitment. The statement continues, thus the PPP was hugely disappointed when the president conveniently avoided the issue of separating the office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice. The president repeated the usual platitudes of fighting corruption and ensuring accountability by strengthening investigative institutions. The report of the state's investigative bodies will always end up with the AG's department, and an unwilling Attorney General will refuse to act on it. What we need is bold leadership and commitment to the following proposals from the PPP. 1, introduce amendments to the 1992 Constitution that will make 3 critical changes for progress in Ghana. Prohibit members of parliament from being appointed as ministers of state. Return the power to the people for all Ghanaians to directly elect their district, municipal and metropolitan chief executives without any interference from the president. And strengthen the office of Attorney General by separating it from the Ministry of Justice. Make available to the public asset declarations, income tax returns, health records and sources of campaign funding before the December 7 elections. These are issues put out there by the PPP reacting to the president's policy statement earlier today. Now, to some other stories now. The controversial CI meant to give legal backing for the creation of 45 new constituencies has been withdrawn, and a new one verbally laid by the majority leader, Cletus Avoka. But the minority is agitated by the procedure adopted by the majority in laying of the constitutional instrument.
The new unnumbered CI was laid on behalf of the Electoral Commission by the majority leader Cletus Avoka verbally, which did not go down well with the minority. The minority then demanded for at least a copy of the document, which never came and resulted in near confusion.
A CI 73 that was that some school of thought says that was laid on the 15th of August. Yes, so we are withdrawing whatever CR are late in respect of this matter. CR 73 and CR 77 are withdrawn.
If you are saying that we don't have sufficient copies, it's acceptable. As soon as they will have it, then you lay it. Why are you hiding anything?
The Speaker, Joyce Bamford-Addo, then suspended sitting as a result. The Majority Leader then assured the House copies will be made available to members before the end of day. Does this mean the CI has been late?
As far as we are concerned, no paper has been late. But they are saying they laid it and we are still waiting for a copy. That's why we suspended it. So tomorrow we are going to tell them that once there was no copy available, there's no laying. But they are insisting that they've laid the paper. Another issue that I want everybody to Ghanaians to understand is the fact that there are signs on the wall. Even I think that God doesn't want this thing to come on, because this issue of laying, withdrawing, it has never happened in the history of this country.
We think that the best thing is that once it is laid, we follow the law. The law says gazette it. After gazetting, you bring the copies and make it available or make them available to everybody. And we have undertaken that we will not leave Parliament until we have the copies available for each member.
To the minority, the walkout on Monday necessitated the withdrawal of the CI-77. At the resumption of the House, the walkout of the minority was contested by the majority, saying there was no information provided by the minority, but the minority insisted it was a walkout. Meanwhile, the minority will be holding a press conference on Wednesday at Parliament House on the matter.
Former President John Kufuor has blamed what he calls the abysmal development of the African continent on international politicking and the inability of African leaders to deal with the twists and turns of time. Addressing a cross-section of youth in Accra, he called on the Electoral Commission to be a good referee during this year's elections.
The quality of life of Ghana could rise so fast and so high because we've got everything. Even in terms of raw material, natural resources, Ghana has it all. If it's human quality, it's amazing. Our small country has quality of humanity that tends to be the envy of many people. Any visitors to this country from Africa and beyond, they come and within a week or two, they wonder how come Ghana stands out so clearly.
Former President John Agyekum Kufuor, in his address to a selected youth from across the country, expressed disappointment at the level of development in Africa. He said most leaders succumb when they come face to face with challenges.
The abysmal performance of the continent's development so far is because for far too long, we have had leadership that crumbled because it came face to face with the twists and turns of national development as well as the international politicking.
He called on the Electoral Commission and all political parties to create a fair and balanced atmosphere for the conduct of election 2012. He stressed that the EC is independent of the executive and legislature and must stay independent to everybody.
This year in our country is a very critical year. Those of us who have had the opportunity to serve the nation perhaps are in a better position to talk about this, the potentials of danger in this year's election. And this is why I personally have taken to talking about the necessity for the Electoral Commission to uphold what is expected of it. A referee's chief attribute must be one of impartiality. The Electoral Commission is a refereeing institution, an institution that our Constitution has set up to oversee the elections. anything issuing out of the Electoral Commission that would mar this image of impartiality is a danger, not only to the Commission or to the immediate competitors, but to the nation as a whole.
He noted that any lack of fairness to political parties contesting in the 2012 elections could spark unnecessary tension and violent acts in the country.
If we would have a peaceful election this year, it will depend on how the referee conducts itself, above all. I'm saying these things not to put fear in anybody. We do not wish that the sad experiences of our neighbors would come to our country here in Ghana. No, God forbid. But they say to be forewarned is to be forearmed.
Campaign chairman of the NPP, Boakye Ejako, took the opportunity to affirm the party's commitment to peace. He said it is dangerous to pay lip service to the cause of peace. According to organizers, though invitation was sent to the NPP, NDC, CPP, PNC and PPP, only the NPP turned up. The 3-day workshop is organized by the John A. Kufuor Foundation in collaboration with the International Republic Institute.
You're listening to Joy News at 8. Still ahead, government pharmacies and all polyclinics, districts and regional hospitals across the country are under lock and key. Find out why when we return from this break. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Joy News at 8. Now, government pharmacies and all polyclinics, district and regional hospitals across the country are under lock and key. This follows a decision by the members of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association to embark on a nationwide strike to press home their demand to be migrated onto the single spine salary structure. Joy News' Eric Curtis Howard reports that the public is bearing the brunt of the pharmacists' strike.
On a normal day, these benches here at the Ridge Hospital in Accra will be filled with patients anticipating to buy medicines from the hospital's pharmacy. But today, the benches are empty. Government and hospital pharmacies across the country are on a nationwide strike, demanding their migration onto the single spine salary structure. According to the agitating pharmacists, after 11 months of negotiation with officials of the Fair Wages and Salary Commission, they still remain the only healthcare professionals who are yet to be migrated onto the pay policy. The chairman of the Government Hospitals Pharmacy Association, Stephen Kwokwe, says refusal of government to migrate them onto the pay policy has brought untold hardships on members.
I would have loved that this strike action might not have come on. But our members have been lingering, have been pulled so long a time. I mean, with this issue of migrating them appropriately onto the spine. And that has really brought up this strike. I, as the chairman of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, will try and engage all the stakeholders involved to quickly and expeditiously resolve this issue so that our members can call off the strike.
Yasmanu Amadu is very angry with the striking pharmacist. His 13-year-old daughter lies ill and feeble at the 37 military hospital. Doctors have prescribed some medicines he needs to purchase to aid the speedy recovery of his daughter. Yasmanu has the money and the prescription, but there is no government pharmacy operational to enable him purchase the medicines. He told us he has moved from the 37 military hospital to the Ridge Hospital to get the drugs, but all to no avail.
Last night I came here with my daughter and they transferred us to the 37 hospital. So I went there, they admitted her there. So they asked me, this morning I came and they asked me to buy some drugs. I was able to buy all and left with one. So they directed me to come here and buy the drugs, the rest of the drugs. And I'm here and there's no one here. That they went to strike or something like that. Now that they are on strike, I don't know where I'll find the medicine. I would like the government to help the hospitals with the drugs or like consider their their problems, solve their problems for them so that they will be working punctually. Because sickness, it can happen in midnight, everything. Even when you are asleep, the hospital, sometimes you go to the hospital, they say the doctors are not there. Then they will direct you to a different place. It's unfair. With that, you can lose your mother or your sister or your daughter.
At the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, scores of expectant patients had trooped to the pharmacy department hoping for a miracle.
I'm here to buy drugs for our clinic. They are for our clients. We don't have that type of drugs in our clinic, so I'm coming to buy them for the clients. I have to go around to look for, for some chemical shops or drugstores, to pharmacy shops to check if I can get some. I'm disappointed anyway, but I have to. There's nothing I can do.
The main door to the pharmacy was shut, and a notice to warn patrons of the strike is posted on the door of the entrance. Benches which accommodate patients while they await their turn have been packed. The once busy hall of the pharmacy department was now a pale shadow of itself. Chairman of the Government Hospital Pharmacist Association, Stephen Kokwe, is unhappy about the latest development and is appealing to government to listen to the plight of the members.
It's difficult for the leadership to be engaged in stakeholders to try and solve this impasse as far back as September 2011. And we are talking about essential service providers. And I thought that as essential service providers, when issues of this nature comes out, they need to resolve it amicably and expeditiously, so that we will not talk about how long. Our members at a national delegates meeting resolve that they will only come back if they are migrated onto the service line. They have waited for far too long.
He, however, indicated pharmacists were providing some form of emergency services to patients despite the strike action.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health, Alban Gbagwin, has advised the membership of the association not to withdraw their services as a tool in seeking redress to their grievances. In a press release issued and signed by the sector minister on Tuesday, he acknowledged that a lot has already been achieved towards a final and more enduring solution to the whole issue of premiums and distortions in the relativities of the salary structure for GOSPA members. He therefore called on the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to expedite action on the matter. The minister further called on the members to exercise a little bit more patience and consider the interest of the patients who queue up daily at their facilities for their medicines. Now, away from that strike, the Upper West Regional Minister, Ambassador Amin Amadou Sulemana, has advised victims of Sunday's heavy flooding in Wa to move out for their own safety. He attributed the heavy flooding to people living on waterways and advised victims to immediately move out to avert any future calamity.
The heavy downpour in Wa lasted for over 6 hours, rendering 127 people homeless. Several low-lying areas in the Wa municipality were hit by the torrential rain, but the worst-hit area was Sakafatu, located at Mangu, a suburb of Wa. This lady, who is in her early 30s and a victim, gave an account of what happened to Joy News.
I went to work place and it was raining. It rains heavily and water enters our houses. Water enters our houses. Someone called me on phone. I was on the way coming. When I got here, I couldn't enter. I have to stand for a while. Some people came and then they collected my key. They went and opened my door. Then all my things were soaked with water.
The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is evacuating victims to a nearby clinic at Mangu for their own safety. The Upper West Regional Minister, Ambassador Amin Amadou Sulemana, and the Wa Municipal Chief Executive, Dogu Yakubu, distributed relief items to the victims. He, however, used the occasion to advise residents to move out of the area for their own safety.
Presently, there are 127 people who have been affected by this from 7 of these compound houses, made up of men, women, and children. We will advise strongly that they move out into higher areas where they have relations to stay for now. Otherwise, if they continue living here, we wake up with disasters that we cannot handle.
The Upper West NADMO coordinator, Alhaji Seidu Bawa, gave a statistical breakdown of the situation.
By our rapid assessment, we have gotten about 100 27 people have actually been affected. And I think the breakdown makes it up. Male adults are 32, female adults 36, male children 31, and then female children 28. That brings the figure to 127.
Now, it's about 3 months to Ghana's general elections, and a prominent musician in Ghana has already declared his support for the NDC's presidential candidate, President Mahama. Now, high-life music icon, now turned investor, Rex Omar, openly endorsed President Mahama at a meeting in Accra earlier today, now predicting he will win the December polls.
The name Rex Omar comes from his birth name, Rexford Owusu-Marfo. It is interesting to know that Rex and the legendary Bob Marley of blessed memory share the same birth dates, February 3rd. Rex Omar is notorious for his controversial lyrics and stance on issues concerning the Ghanaian music industry. According to him, he was invited to the event as a musician and a Ghanaian investor. Before posing his question on the president's policies for the creative art industry, Rex gave what appears to be a sweeping endorsement of the NDC's candidate, President Mahama.
You have 3 months being the president. We know that by the grace of God, you will become the president.
So, what mesmerized Rex so much that he could no longer hold back his admiration for the president?
When he was a vice president, as I said, has done a lot of things behind the scenes. You know, if there's been any president who has had the creative industry at heart since Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, it's him.
Well, Rex says he was very satisfied and happy with President Mahama's answer to his question. For those who may have missed the response, this is President Mahama's response to Rex's question.
I'm a very committed soldier in terms of recognizing the creative industry as a major source of job creation. As a first step, we actually made budgetary allocation to the creative industries under the 2012 budget. And I'm sure that if we engage them and give them all the incentives to be able to expand that sector, it will be a very good job creation avenue for them.
This definitely comes as a good news for members of the creative art industry. Rexford Owusu-Marfo's recording career has spanned 20 years with a number of hit songs to his credit, some of which include Di Dada Di Di Di, Abiba, Kotosa, and a host of others.
I am Rashidat Kadiri. Good evening and welcome to the latest edition with the world of sports. And we start with the Black Stars, who have held their second training session ahead of this Saturday's first leg final cap of the nation's qualifier against Malawi. 21 out of the 24 players invited by Coach Kwesi Appiah reported for this afternoon session at the Accra Sports Stadium.
With the exception of Andre and Jordan Ayew and first-choice goalkeeper Adam Lasin Kwarase, all other players invited for the game were at the training grounds this morning. Jordan Ayew is sorting out his possible transfer to French League One outfit OGC Nice and is expected to report to camp with his brother Andre Ayew later today, together with Norway-based goalkeeper Adam Lasin Kwarase. The team went through some jogging and ball juggling exercises under the supervision of Coach Kwesi Appiah, backed by his technical team. The same number of players were present at this morning's session, and a full complement of the team is expected to train at the Accra Sports Stadium tomorrow. The Black Stars are seeking one of 15 places at next year's Africa Nations Cup to be hosted by South Africa. Ghana will hope to end over a 30-year trophy drought if they qualify ahead of Malawi for the 29th edition of the African Cup of Nations. The game against Malawi will be played at the Accra Sports Stadium on Saturday, with a return leg in a fortnight's time in Malawi.
Away from football, let's do some hockey, and government has declined to fund Ghana's hosting of the World League Series with just 3 days to go. This comes after months of struggle by the Ghana Hockey Association to secure funds to prepare the Theodosia Oko hockey pitch for the 3-day event.
The Hockey Association is racing against time to raise the needed funds to put the pitch in a good state for passing by the Hockey World Governing Body, the FIH, before the September 7 to 9 tournament. Despite the agreed arrangements between the Ghana Hockey and Sports Ministry, delays at the National Sports Authority have made it impossible for government to release the needed fund to the Ghana Hockey Association. President of the Ghana Hockey Association, Okonikwe Jani, is displeased at the latest development.
We were hopeful that all was well. A few queries were raised as to the form of the budget and so on, and we addressed them all. But this morning, Tuesday, we had information that the government has declined to fund the activity. It came to us as a surprise. We thought it was too late, and indeed it is too late in the day. The president of African Hockey is already in the country from Egypt. He arrived yesterday, Monday, and we are expecting the technical officials in tomorrow. It's only a 4-day, 5-day tournament, but we still need to prepare. As a host country, there are responsibilities on us. This is an international practice. We have to cater for the technical officials in terms of accommodation and feeding. We're supposed to take care of the airfare. And in our own preparations for our teams, we need to put them in camp. The good news is that we have a hostel facility. They've been there for some time now. We've been creating food. We have to look after their bedding, look at sanitation and all. And all of these have been done on credit. Now, to say at this last minute that fund is not going to come, certainly hits us below the belt.
Okonikwe Jani blames the National Sports Authority for the mishap and hopes government will have a change of mind.
We are still in the dilemma now. I've been trying to meet the minister to see what other plans he has for us. On our own, we are trying to make contact with some few institutions to see what they can do to help us, just to avoid. It is too late to cancel the tournament. If we were told as far back as April when we submitted the documents that the government was not going to fund it, we would have just informed the FIH and the African Hockey that we are unable to host it. And even if it was as far back as June when the Sports Council was said to have sent the documents to the ministry, we were told even at that then that it wasn't going to be possible. We would have been left with two options. Again, to see whether it was not too late in the day to cancel the tournament or to begin making contacts with possible sponsors even at that time.
The various Ghana hockey teams, both male and female, have also had their camping plans interrupted because of the lack of finance to run a smooth preparation program at the accommodation facility at the hockey stadium in Accra Central. Egypt, Nigeria and Zimbabwe are teams expected to travel to Accra for the 3-day event next month.
International news is after I leave, but I'm done with sports for now.
Thank you very much for staying with us here on Joy News at 8. My name is Evans Mensah. We'll come here again tomorrow with an edition of the program.